President, I rise today to oppose the nomination of Dr. Scott Gottlieb to serve as the Commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration. It is the responsibility of the Food and Drug Administration, starting with its Commissioner, to protect consumers and stand up for public health. I have serious concerns about Dr. Gottlieb's record. I also have additional concerns from his nomination hearing about his stances on critical priorities for people in New Hampshire and across the nation. Mr. President, as I mentioned, and as Senator Markey has detailed as well, the most pressing public health and safety challenge facing New Hampshire is the heroin, fentanyl, and opioid crisis. And I want to thank the senator from Massachusetts for his leadership and work in helping identify the root causes of this terrible epidemic. Yesterday, I was in New Hampshire and I met with the Drug Enforcement Agency leaders and personnel there. I heard updates from those on the front lines about the latest developments in the substance misuse crisis. We discussed the spread of the dangerous synthetic drug carfentanil, which is 100 times stronger than the already deadly drug fentanyl. And a report released this week by New Futures showed the economic impact of alcohol and substance misuse costs. It costs New Hampshire's economy now over $2 billion a year. It's clear that we need to take stronger action to combat this crisis. We have to continue partnering together with those on the front lines and at every level of government. We need to be developing new tools and leveraging the ones we have to combat this crisis. What we cannot afford to do is to institute policies that would take us backward. Unfortunately, Dr. Gottlieb has been opposed to the creation of one of the key tools that the FDA has at its disposal, risk evaluation and mitigation strategies, otherwise known as REMS. The agency uses REMS, including as a strategy prescriber training, to try to stem the risks associated with certain medications. The FDA should be making REMS stronger and make sure that all opioid medications have REMS. We don't need a commissioner who opposed the very creation of the REMS program, as Dr. Gottlieb did. In the midst of a public health challenge as serious as this epidemic, we should be taking, and we have to take, an all-hands-on-deck approach. The fact that Dr. Gottlieb was opposed to the very creation of REMS raises questions about what strategies the FDA would support under his leadership. And, Mr. President, there is another issue involved in this nomination of deep concern to the people of New Hampshire. I'm concerned about Dr. Gottlieb's record of putting politics ahead of science when it comes to women's health. To compete economically on a level playing field, women must be able to make their own decisions about when and if to start a family, and to fully participate not only in our economy, but also in our democracy. Women must be recognized for their capacity to make their own health care decisions, just as men are. They must also have the full independence to make their own health care decisions, just as men do. Unfortunately, this administration has made clear that it is focused on an agenda that restricts women's access to critical health services, including family planning. Dr. Gottlieb's record has demonstrated that he supports this backwards agenda. During his time in the Bush administration, Dr. Gottlieb was involved in a controversial and unscientifically based delay in approving the emergency contraceptive Plan B for over-the-counter use. I'm concerned that under his leadership, the FDA will play political games with women's health once again. And I'm afraid that he will disregard science-based decisions under pressure from this administration. Mr. President, Dr. Gottlieb's nomination raises too many questions about whether he will put political interests ahead of science and head of the safety of consumers. I hope that he has learned about the priorities of senators and the constituents they represent throughout the nomination process, and that he proves to be a stronger commissioner than his record suggests. But in voting today, I cannot overlook that record. So I will vote against his nomination, and I urge my colleagues to do the same. Thank you, and I yield the floor back to my distinguished colleague from Massachusetts.